After more than 3 decades, Kody Brown of Sister Wives finally acknowledges that the Sister Wives Season 19 tell-all proved to be the last straw for Kody Brown and his relationships with his ex-wives, Meri, Janelle, and Christine Brown. Key reasons why his marriages failed so hard. The entire special demonstrated how Kody was obviously not treating all of his women fairly, but rather than take responsibility for it, he continued to find excuses to place the blame on Robyn Brown, his last wife, who likewise avoided responsibility by spending most of her time in front of the screen. During his interview with Sukanya Suki Krishnan, host of Sister Wives Tell-All, Kody was shown a number of clips showing Christine and her new husband, David Woolley, being openly affectionate with one another. This was the first shockingly unfiltered moment in which Kody ended up confessing to something that broke the story he had been working so hard to construct. Their relationship clearly differs from Christine's feelings during her marriage to the patriarch of the Brown family. In her own interview with Suki, Christine acknowledged that the lack of intimacy in her relationship with Kody was the reason behind their final divorce. She clearly doesn't feel that way in her new marriage, though. When asked how he felt about Christine and David's PDA, Kody said he was glad for her. Throughout Sister Wives Season 19, Christine and David were spotted hugging, kissing, laughing, and enjoying each other's company. He was impressed by Christine's ability to manifest the type of relationship she had always desired, the TLC star continued. Kody's remark initially strikes me as polite and responsible. He might not have realized, though, that by doing this, he was essentially admitting that he had been ignoring all of his wives save Robyn. Kody acknowledged that he and Christine struggled to create something genuine as he thought back on their relationship. He refused to admit that his flagrant disregard for Christine's emotional needs was a major contributing factor in this fight. Kody described more than 25 years of his marriage to Christine as a good time experience in the same sentence. This is not the first time Kody has attempted to come out as casual and unattached while discussing his ex-wives. The act is becoming a touch stale now. Kody may have been evading responsibility by implying that his marriage to Christine was superficial, but it also demonstrates how emotionally distant he was from his ex-wives. David and Christine's response to the clips, however, was refreshingly honest and made Kody's response appear even more dishonest. Kody once again refused to see how his favoritism toward Robyn is what caused his family to fall apart by attempting to make it seem like both parties were equally at fault. Christine just acknowledged that she is now married to a partner who provides her with the connection she has always desired, without assigning blame or painting herself as the victim. However, Woolley didn't mince words and confronted Kody. According to Woolley, Christine acknowledged that she had been deprived of love in her former marriage. Isabel Brown, the 22-year-old daughter of Christine and Kody, also talked about how her ex-husband refused to offer her the physical contact that she always desired. Christine's kids don't mind the PDA at all now that she's with someone who gets her better. The children have stated repeatedly in Sister Wives Season 19 that they are content as long as Christine is content in her new marriage. In light of all of this, Christine appears to have reconciled with her past and is eager for the future. She has truly come to terms with the fact that her previous marriage wasn't ideal. Even Meri and Janelle appear to be more concerned with starting new lives for themselves than with holding onto old grudges and fights. The only ones who haven't done so are Kody and Robyn, who are mired in the past and still openly resentful of the former sister wives for leaving. In earlier seasons of the show, Kody insisted that he did everything in his power to keep his multiple marriages intact, but now he is changing the story to preserve his and Robyn's reputation. The reality star finds it easier to downplay the significance of his relationships with Meri, Christine, and Janelle than to face the fact that he let them down. But Flagstaff had a calm Saturday morning. The expansive yards of the Brown family's several residences were bathed in a golden glow as the sun briefly appeared over the horizon. For the once cohesive polygamous household, chaos was the only constant despite the fact that life had become more complex. To be honest, things were a complete chaos with the children becoming older, the wives' arguments, and Kody juggling 4 residences. However, Janelle had an epiphany on this specific morning, which she referred to as a Brown family life hack. The Browns had had trouble maintaining even the most basic cooperation ever since they had moved to Flagstaff. The children were frequently double-booked for appointments and activities, grocery shopping overlapped, and supper preparations became confused. Communication was rapidly deteriorating. Now living on her own, Christine would frequently laugh when she learned of the ongoing uncertainty. She would wink and add, "I told them years ago we needed structure." Mary worked on her bed and breakfast in Utah and mainly avoided the controversy. Robin felt overburdened by the demands of homeschooling and Kody's continual presence. And then there was Kody, who kept moving from one house to another, forgot birthdays, lost his phone all the time, and had no idea which house held laundry detergent. Janelle was drinking coffee at her kitchen table one morning while gazing at the 4 planners she used to keep track of everything. There has to be a change. She therefore convened a family meeting, or at the very least, whoever was available. Mary from Utah called in. Although Robin showed there with a laptop, Kody arrived late as usual, and 2 of the older children were persuaded to come by the promise of pizza. Christine declined to go, saying she was done playing secretary for a broken system. Janelle began by saying, "I know we're all doing our own thing, but we need a system if we're going to survive this mess. Something simple. Something contemporary." Kody's eyebrow went up. "What do you mean by a calendar?" "No, I mean something like a life hack," grinned Janelle. Janelle implemented her plan over the course of the following week. She developed a family software called Brown Sync with the assistance of tech-savvy Hunter and Maddie. Among them were calendar that is shared for birthdays, appointments, and events. Use a meal planner to ensure that no family was left with 3 lasagnas and no milk. Each household could enter tasks into the chore tracker, ensuring that even the teenagers were held accountable. Digital check-in. To prevent confusion and trouble, Kody had to designate his accommodations each night. An emergency alarm system for any unforeseen problems or prompt assistance. After learning about it from her girls, Christine became intrigued and downloaded the app, adding Truly's school calendar. 2 weeks later, the turmoil began to subside. They weren't skipping appointments. The grocery plan was more organized. For once, Kody arrived on time for Savannah's piano recital. When Janelle checked the app one evening, she noticed something unexpected. Mary had left a comment on Robin's post about her dinner. "Your enchiladas with chicken looked fantastic. Would you mind sharing the recipe?" Robin responded right away with a picture and thorough directions. It was their first cordial conversation in months. Christine even included a heart emoji in one of Janelle's comments on the garden. The software served as a silent bridge for a family that had been so severely damaged by emotional distance. It's a tiny way to support one another without getting into a fight, but it's not a solution to all of their issues. Naturally, it took Kody a while to get used to it. He grumbled, "I'm not really into technology." Even yet, he had to concede that it was effective. He really enjoyed the poll option, which allowed him to ask which wife would prefer a romantic night or a hike with just one click. The decision-making process wasn't taxing for once. Not everything was resolved by the Brown family life hack. The underlying wounds persisted, including the lost closeness, the resentments, and the broken trust. However, it established a cadence and a sense of deference to time, place, and dialogue. Additionally, that might have been the first tiny step toward recovery. One morning, Janelle posted the following on the group bulletin board of the app. "This family deserves a chance at harmony, even if it's just one notification at a time, regardless of how far apart we are." But Flagstaff had a calm morning. As Christine Brown sipped her coffee and gazed out into the horizon, the wind outside her window softly rustled the leaves. The day that everything formally changed was today. The divorce was final. She was at last free after years of emotional detachment, annoyance, and introspection. Christine inhaled deeply. She had waited for this resolution in serenity rather than rage. She no longer saw her marriage to Kody Brown as a partnership, but rather as an obligation. Even though they had spent years together with family, kids, and customs, the love and respect that had once united them had long ago waned. She was brought back to the present by a gentle rap on her door. Christine's favorite pastries were in a package that Janelle was carrying. Janelle, who sat opposite from her, inquired with a soft smile, "Are you ready for this new life?" Christine gave a nod. "I sense less heavy, not depressed, just prepared." Robin's back porch was a neutral location where Christine had sat opposite Kody 2 months prior. It was uncomfortable. Robin was distraught as usual, while Mary sat quietly close by. Christine had firmly informed him, "I'm not doing this to hurt you. I want to find happiness on my own terms. I've given everything, and now I'm empty. I need to choose myself for once." At first, Kody had been incensed, shouting, "This is betrayal." However, he knew deep down that Christine had emotionally deserted him long before. The emotional wound had been made years earlier, but the papers was signed only a few weeks afterward. Back in the present, Christine made the decision to celebrate the day rather than mourn it, and Janelle assisted her in organizing a freedom dinner, to which they invited her children, close friends, and even a few community members who had been subtly encouraging. There was music, laughter, and an incredible sense of freedom in the air as everyone gathered in her backyard that night under fairy lights. Her daughter Michaelty even got up to make a toast. "To my mother, who taught us all that it's never too late to make a fresh start, to choose tranquility, and to find happiness again." Through her tears, Christine smiled, not with grief, but with strength. The other spouses were left in shock as Christine rejoiced. Robin, who was adamant about keeping the family together, took the divorce hard and sobbed in Kody's arms that evening, declaring, "This isn't what we promised. We were supposed to be forever." Mary, on the other hand, said nothing but reflected. Christine's divorce had revealed all the flaws in their multiple marriage. Mary thought for the first time about what life would be like beyond the shadows of a shattered building. The gravity of it all hit Kody like a brick as he sat alone in his study, staring at the legal paperwork, straining because he never thought Christine would actually follow through. He muttered to himself, "She truly did it and she won't be returning." Though he was still proud and indignant, he knew deep down that she deserved more and that Christine had saved herself, not abandoned the family. 3 weeks following the final divorce decree, Christine packed up and relocated to Utah, where she found a comfortable home close to her oldest children and started pursuing long-buried loves like community organizing, hiking, and painting. She even had a couple dates. The relationship between the other spouses changed significantly after Christine left, and Mary, after years of mental limbo, started writing a memoir. Janelle, moved by Christine's bravery, started putting greater distance between herself and Kody. And Robin? She held on to what remained, still believing, still hopeful. But Christine? Her next chapter was already written. Moreover, for the first time in forever, her tale was written by her.
But
"I trusted him," Christine said to herself as she stood by the wide window of her Flagstaff house, staring at the tall pine trees swaying in the evening breeze. The air was calm, but a storm was forming inside her chest. Her arms were crossed, her jaw was tight. When she first married Kody, Christine thought she was entering a marriage based on mutual love, spiritual growth, and shared values. But over time, she watched her dreams fall apart. Years had passed since she had decided to become a part of the Brown family, years full of hopes, children, chaos, and compromises. She had trusted Kody to lead with fairness and integrity, and he had promised her that every wife mattered equally, that love, time, and attention would be shared. Initially, she was excited about the idea of being a sister wife, seeing it as a spiritual calling and feeling empowered by the idea of raising her children with the support of other women with whom she would share a bond of sisterhood. She was excited about the idea of being a sister wife, seeing it as a spiritual calling and feeling empowered by the idea of raising her children with the support of other women with whom she would share a bond of sisterhood. However, it was not the case. When Robin joined the family, the balance started to change. Christine recalled how everything changed after that. Kody became aloof, his affection was selective, and he visited her home less frequently. At first, she told herself that he was simply getting used to a new wife, But weeks and months passed, and Christine frequently found herself physically and emotionally alone. They all sensed the cracks building beneath the family's foundation, but neither Janelle nor Mary wanted to face it head-on. Nevertheless, Christine hung on, raising her kids with dignity and fortitude, attempting to ignore the man she married, becoming more and more silent. The treachery followed. It was quiet and subtle, like the gradual dying of a candle's flame, rather than loud or explosive. Christine was organizing a family get-together to celebrate Truly's birthday one evening when she received word from her daughter Isabel that Kody had told Robin that they would be going on a trip together, just the three of them, no other spouses or kids. Christine had not been notified, not even by text or phone call. The following morning, she approached him. She said, "Kody, are you taking Robin on a trip this weekend?" in a steady but shaky voice.
"Yes.
"We need some time alone." "I thought it would be best," Kody said, avoiding eye contact. "And you didn't think I deserved to know? I've been planning Truly's birthday, and I expected you to be there," Christine said, clenching her fists. Kody said bluntly, "I didn't think it was a big deal." For Christine, that was the turning point in her life. She added softly, "It is a big deal, Kody, because I trusted you. I trusted you to be fair. I trusted you to love us all. I trusted you to communicate. I trusted you to show up." No words could have penetrated his quiet. Their wedding day, the early days of laughing with the other spouses, the promises Kody made, all of it suddenly felt like lies wrapped in elegant language as Christine lay awake for hours that night. She had decided by morning that she would no longer remain in a marriage in which she felt invisible. "We're going to start a new chapter. Somewhere we can be free. Somewhere we're truly seen," she said softly as she gathered her kids. With sad eyes, Isabel asked her mother, "Are you okay?" Through the agony, Christine grinned and said, "I will be, because I finally chose myself." The whole family was shocked by the news. Mary remained torn. Robin cried, uncertain whether out of guilt or fear of losing the appearance of unity, while Janelle quietly comforted her. Kody responded incredulously, saying, "Christine, we can figure this out." "No, Kody. You had years to work through this. You just didn't care enough," Christine said, shaking her head. After a few months, Christine relocated to Utah, bought a comfortable home, began a new career, and created a life for herself. Her kids flourished, and although there were difficult days, loss, sorrow, and lonely nights, she at last felt liberated. The wind rustling the trees made her smile as she sipped tea on her veranda one afternoon. She mumbled, "I trusted him," but this time she did so with power rather than despair. "I trusted him, and I trust myself now." But the enormous sectional house where Kody, Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robin had all raised their children together was now empty, worn by time and memories. It had been more than a year since the family had last gathered at the old house in Lehi, Utah, which had once been the center of the Brown family's distinctive, polygamous life. In the family group chat, Christine, who is now remarried and leading a peaceful life in Utah, got an unexpected message from Janelle. "Next weekend, I'm returning to the old house for closure. Would anyone else be interested?" Christine glanced at the message, feeling a mixture of anguish, curiosity, and nostalgia as she typed slowly. "I'll be there." Even Robin, who had stayed closest to Kody, hinted that she would attend, but she didn't confirm, and Kody said nothing. It was surprising that Mary also consented to go. On the day of the visit, the sun was low in the sky, bathing the Lehi neighborhood in a golden glow. Christine drove silently, her pulse racing, toward the house that had seen happiness and heartache. When Christine stepped out, Janelle was already there, leaning against her car and drinking coffee, and she grinned warmly. "How is it possible that it's still standing?" Janelle gave a little laugh. "To be honest, I thought it would have been destroyed by now, like the memories I tried to bury," said Christine with a smile. A little later, Mary showed up wearing sunglasses and a large coat. Although she didn't say anything at first, the expressions in her eyes were quite telling. After a lengthy minute of standing together in front of the house, Janelle produced the spare key she had stored for years. They were greeted by the musty smell of an uninhabited house as the front door creaked open, and the sound of children laughing and family gatherings that occasionally ended in disputes or tears could still be heard in the spacious living room. "Truly took her first steps right there," Christine said, touching the wall close to the staircase. "Gabe once slid down these stairs on a laundry basket and broke the railing," Janelle said with a smile. The kitchen was just as they had left it, with one of Mary's motivational signs, "Family is everything," still clinging to a peg, and Robin's customized spice rack hanging crookedly on the wall. They strolled around, each room bringing up a different memory, some bringing tears, some laughter. Mary said, "I loved how hard we tried, but I hated that we tried so hard to force happiness here." They found themselves in the backyard, where the garden Christine had once tended was overrun with weeds, but the old trampoline was gone. They were sitting on the back steps, telling stories, when Robin's car pulled up. She added, "I didn't know if I should come," as she cautiously made her way outside. They had been at odds for years, and Christine stood, not knowing how to respond. "We all have ghosts here. Let's face them together," Janelle said, defusing the tension. The four women sat together for the first time in what seemed like an eternity, and Robin nodded and joined them. There was in the mailbox as they were leaving, addressed to each of them, in Kody's handwriting. Janelle read it out loud while they stood beside the car. "To the ladies I used to live with, I know I've let each of you down in different ways, and I've lost more than I realized at the time. If you're reading this, you've returned to the place that defined us, for better or worse. Even though this house was never flawless, the love we attempted to create here was genuine. I hope you found peace, and thank you for the years." "Kody, that's probably the most honest thing he's said in years," Christine exhaled deeply. As the sun started to drop, they departed the old house. They all sensed that this visit was a sort of closure, and a new chapter began, even if none of them expressed it out loud. Eventually, the house would either be sold or demolished, but the memories, both positive and negative, would endure. They had endured loss, rivalry, heartbreak, and jealousy, but above all, they had endured one another, and that was something to be proud of. But Mary Brown sat peacefully on her porch with her fingers encircling a warm cup of herbal tea as the sun sank below Flagstaff's red rocks, illuminating the several homes of the Brown family in a golden hue. The silence was deafening, yet symbolic. She had battled for years to be heard, seen, and loved, but recently, everything she experienced was invisible. This was not always the case. Kody's first wife, Mary, who accompanied him before the show, before the fame, before Robin, had once shared dreams, laughter, and even faith. However, such recollections suddenly seemed like a lifetime in the past. Mary eventually opened out at a family interview session, this time without holding back, in a fresh, extremely raw confessional. "I watch Kody pour all of his time, energy, and emotions into Robin, and sometimes it feels like the rest of us, me, Janelle, Christine, we're just stepping stones," Mary said, her voice shaking but firm, like the other woman in a marriage I started. Even the producers dared not break her moment of truth, and the room became silent. "Kody stopped trying with us a long time ago, and I don't blame Robin for falling in love with him, but I do blame him for not seeing what he's lost along the way," Mary added. When Robin saw Mary's clip, she was visibly upset. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she gripped a tissue firmly. Maybe I was naive," Robin said, "but I never wanted to take anything away from the other wives. I thought we were building a family, a team." She acknowledged that she had been closer to Kody in recent years, particularly as other relationships became more strained, but she never imagined the loneliness it would bring to the other women. "I feel like everything is falling apart, but I wanted unity and sisterhood." Kody leaned forward in his chair and watched both clips, clearly irritated. "People say I give Robin special treatment, but the truth is, she works hard, she communicates, she listens, and she makes me feel needed. I can't carry this family the way I used to," he yelled. "But maybe. I didn't realize how badly I was making Mary feel." "And for that, I'm sorry," he said after pausing, then softly. Was that sufficient, though? Mary, who had been thinking for months, even weighing her options, sat by herself, away from the cameras, after the interview. Perhaps love shouldn't feel like begging, she thought to herself in a whisper. The following morning, she convened a family gathering at her home rather than Kody's. At last, in front of Kody and all the spouses, Mary took a stand and spoke what had been on her mind for years. "I won't be a ghost in my own life. I've waited long enough for someone else to recognize my value. I'm choosing myself now." The room was filled with gasps. Janelle nodded silently in support. Christine, who was already apart from Kody, gazed at her admiringly. Robin sobbed, unsure of how to respond, and Kody, well, he looked stunned. Mary didn't turn around before leaving the house. A few weeks later, Mary posted on social media from a quiet cabin in Utah, showing off her genuine smile while standing next to a group of female entrepreneurs she was collaborating with on her new venture. "I'm rebuilding, for me. I lost myself trying to keep a family together." For the first time in a long time, Mary was more than just a sister wife, as fans showered her comments with support. She was independent, and she was at last free. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Sabrina, and I hope you're having a great day. Please remember to subscribe if you enjoy the video.